Have you ever looked at the clouds and seen the shape of an animal? Or recognized a familiar face in a crowd almost instantly? Perhaps you've read a sentence with a few missing letters and still understood every word. Your eyes don't always receive complete information, yet your brain effortlessly fills in the gaps. How does it do that? The answer lies in Gestalt Psychology. Hi, I am Girish Krishnani, and you are watching 5-Minute Learnings. Welcome back to Psychology Basics. In our previous video, we explored existential psychology and its focus on meaning, freedom, and personal responsibility. Today, we explore Gestalt Psychology, a school of thought that changed our understanding of how the human mind perceives and organizes the world. Gestalt psychology emerged in Germany during the early 20th century through the work of Max Wertheimer, Kurt Koffka, and Wolfgang Kohler. At a time when psychologists were trying to understand the mind by breaking experiences into smaller parts, Gestalt psychologists proposed a radically different idea. They argued that the mind naturally organizes individual elements into meaningful wholes. This gave rise to their famous principle: the whole is different from the sum of its parts. In other words, we don't perceive isolated pieces of information, we perceive complete patterns. To explain how this happens, Gestalt psychologists identified several principles of perceptual organization. The first is proximity. Objects that are close to one another are perceived as belonging together. For example, when people stand in small clusters, we naturally assume they are part of the same group, even if they are strangers. The second is similarity. We tend to group objects that share similar characteristics such as color, shape, or size. This is why players wearing the same uniform are instantly recognized as members of the same team. The third principle is closure. Our brain automatically fills in missing information to create complete objects. Even if a familiar logo or drawing is incomplete, we can still recognize it because the mind completes the missing parts. The fourth principle is continuity. We naturally prefer smooth, continuous patterns rather than abrupt changes. When two lines intersect, our brain usually sees them as continuing along the same path instead of suddenly changing direction. The fifth principle is figure and ground. Whenever we look at a scene, our brain separates the main object, known as the figure, from its background. In certain optical illusions, this relationship can suddenly reverse, causing us to see two entirely different images without the picture itself changing. These principles explain why optical illusions are so fascinating. They reveal that perception is not simply a passive recording of reality. Instead, the brain actively interprets, organizes, and sometimes even predicts what we are seeing. The influence of Gestalt psychology extends far beyond psychology itself. Designers use these principles to build intuitive websites and mobile apps. Advertisers use them to guide our attention. Architects, photographers, filmmakers, and artists use them to create visually appealing and meaningful designs. Even today, many products we interact with every day are based on principles first described by Gestalt psychologists over a century ago. Although modern psychology has expanded well beyond Gestalt theory, its central idea remains highly influential. It helped shift psychology from studying isolated sensations to understanding how the mind organizes experience into meaningful patterns. In doing so, it laid important foundations for modern cognitive psychology and the scientific study of perception. So, the next time you instantly recognize a face, complete an unfinished drawing, or notice shapes in the clouds, remember that your brain is doing much more than simply seeing. It is organizing, interpreting, and constructing your experience of the world. That is the lasting contribution of Gestalt psychology. That's all for today. In the next video we shall explore the socio-cultural influence on psychology. Hope you found this video helpful. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, and follow or subscribe to my channel 5-Minute Learnings, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified when I post new content. Thanks for watching.